It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe's with us in the booth. You're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, anywhere you podcast, and of course 790 The Score in Rhode Island. And hey, make sure you give us a call and heated hotline 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S. Mark 24/7.
Of course, it's 24/7.
You guys can leave a message anytime. Let us know what you think. Anything's on the table. Joe's going to pick one. I hope it's yours. So 855-313-7287, or you can email us in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Got one tonight. Got a good one. I mean, hey, look, everyone thinks, Mark, this is like dead time.
Not in New England. It's never dead time, Chris.
But we have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. We got Yankees versus Red Sox. They all start up this weekend or today. You know, we're recording on Thursday, of course, but today, the spring training games start. And, of course, Catone's comments. Going to hear from one of you in the nation in Heated Hotline, and welcome in the Pats Nation. We have a lot to talk about, even though it's the offseason with the Patriots.
We absolutely do.
How are we doing? I'm like, you know, I'm going like 100 miles an hour today.
But these days, when is the off season? I feel like all these sports overlap. There is no off season anymore.
You know what? You're right, Joe. There is no more off season, especially in the NFL. They keep you hooked like 12 months a year, Chris. That's why they're the best, you know, of all the sports. You know,
they do it right.
Yeah, they do.
They do it right. But you guys are gonna have to calm me down today because I'm fine. I'm a little wound up pretty good today. You know.
And listen, just for the record, we may have technical difficulties, Joe, because I think Mercury is in retrograde.
It might actually start up.
Oh, Christ. Joe, you got him thinking along those lines now. Well, let's see. What's not in retrograde and what's here is baseball. So let's talk about it. Yankees versus Red Sox. Joe? So for those of you on 790 and iHeartRadio, you don't see that cool little wash. You know, get on YouTube and take a look at our shows. Make sure you subscribe. He's got a cool wash. Yankees logo, then the Red Sox logo. It's pretty damn cool.
It is
all
cool.
they hear on the radio is just brrr, but it sounds like Godzilla's coming, you know?
Oh yeah, you got to give it to him.
So listen,
Chris watches those from 1968 at like 3 in the morning.
1956.
I'm sorry, 56, Joe.
Anyway, so baseball starting up now. Spring training is kicking off today. It being the 24th, right, Mark? Today starts off.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened this week. Let's start with the Red Sox. Ownership, Mark. Let's start with the Tom Warner versus Henry. And before we talked about when Warner came out and talked about we're all in. And all that happened, and he came out, and all of you know that. We kind of made fun of him and basically said, hey, you know, what is he? They're not all in. But he believed that. He believes it, I think. He believes that they should be all in, and I don't think they're on the same page, he and the guy that's actually handling all the payroll, right? Which is Henry.
Chris, so listen, what people need to understand now, right, is, yes, in this part of the country, in New England, and, you know, it's baseball. It's the Boston Red Sox. It's a, you know, major market baseball team. But they have to realize, to John Henry, they're just another spoke on the Fenway Group asset train, right? So he's got they got all these different assets as part of this management group, Chris. And this is just another one. And how do you get them to be profitable? What's the bottom line? It's not about it's a baseball team and let's win a World Series anymore, Chris. They've become part of their structure of, okay, how do we make money off of this entity? It's not in this, and they're making money. So they don't care if they win a World Series anymore, Chris. I mean, they made the comment a little while ago during that fan weekend that Fenway Park people are still going to always come because it's an experience. And they talked about the experience of Fenway Park and all this craziness, not about the product on the field. So, like, yeah, there's two different understandings of, I think, what this organization is becoming.
We heard from Tom Warner, right, on this.
Yep.
And so he talks about we're all in. Now we haven't he's like a ghost right now. John Henry, you haven't heard from him. He's nowhere to be found. But he's
because
doing all this talking
to him.
Yeah, but he's doing all this talking in the moves that's being made and the money that's being spent or not spent.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, he's the guy that's controlling all of that.
Sure,
you know, and so that's where he's doing all this talking. You know, and the fact that they signed Hendricks, who's had, Tommy John surgery. He's not going to pitch until 2025. I mean, these are the things they're doing that make no sense at all. And so I think ownership is definitely at odds as to what needs to be going on or what's happening. And I think some of these guys want to see them spend a lot. Most of the people in the organization want to see this happen. Henry's sitting there basically saying, well, what do they got? 3? How many rings did he win as the owner? 3, 4, whatever 4, it was.
Yeah, something like
and
that.
So
4.
to him, it's like you said, oh, well, but if he pulls this crap with the soccer team,
it's a different story.
They won't accept that over there.
No, it's a different story.
So we understand is that this is what they're going to be. Now, how this trickles down to the players. This week, Devers was interviewed. And it was funny because they really, listening to some of these shows this week, nobody was satisfied in what the interpreter. You ever see that movie, Mr. Baseball? You guys ever see that movie with Tom Selleck where he goes to Japan and he's playing in Japan and he has an interpreter with him. And so everything he says, he's not really interpreting what Tom Selleck is saying. Well, this is what happened this week. This interpreter is being paid by the Red Sox and he's kind of filtering it out. And somebody,
but Chris, you could tell he was filtering it out by Devers' body language and the fact that Devers even interjected a couple of times because he wasn't saying, because Devers does know a little bit of English, and Devers was kind of trying to interject because he wasn't interpreting exactly what he was saying.
No, and somebody actually listened and called into one of these shows and broke down exactly what was being said, and he basically blasted ownership. He blasted ownership, and he was saying things like they have to make the big things that I pulled from that were they have to make changes or we're playing for nothing.
Yes.
They have to make changes this year or we're playing for nothing. Now, that's not what was translated,
No, and I'm going to be honest with you, Chris. They are playing for nothing. They're not making any more moves this year. Their moves are done. That's it. It's finished.
So when you got a guy like that saying that kind of crap, I mean, you normally don't see these kinds of, it doesn't happen usually. The last time I remember is a guy coming out and blasting ownership like that remember when Adam Oates did it back with hockey, not to cross sports, like years and years ago, blasted the team. But Devers can get away with this because what are they going to do? It means their only asset.
I was just going to say that, Chris. You can't trade him. So and he knows that. They can't get rid of him.
No, and if they want to trade that contract, they'll never be able to trade that contract. But if they trade, he's all guaranteed money. So he's sitting in the perch saying, screw this. And I agree with him. Everyone agrees with him.
It's not even just him. It's even Cora. The opening of spring training, they interviewed Cora. And they asked him about, a contract extension. And he was like, well, we're not going to, it's the last year of his contract. They said, we're not discussing that now. And he just abruptly, like kind of rudely moved on to the next topic. So I don't think Corbin's too happy either, Chris. And I'm going to be honest with you. If they don't do anything this year, I think you're going to see Cora become a free agent because there'll be teams lined up to sign him for all kind of money. And I think John Henry's probably okay with that.
Well, and he's pushing too. I mean, this is the final year of his contract, right? So he's pushing. Did you see the second practice of spring training? He had these guys going hard out there. I mean, hard. They were all standing behind the backstop and gauging things, and these guys were pushing. He had them working hard. You don't see that. And basically, when he was asked, he was like, "Well, we haven't played a game in October in a few years, so You know,
Yeah,
it's time
he's
to
playing
go.
he's playing the game, and you know what? I think he'd be okay, Chris, in June July if they say, hey, you know what, Alex, you guys are in last place. We're just like they did with Hein Bloom last year.
Right.
We're gonna move on. Okay, thank you. See ya. I think he'd love that. He's got his money. Walk away, and then you become a free agent and you market yourself, and somebody will hire him in the offseason. Listen, I'd love to see the Yankees get rid of Boone and hire him.
Well, speaking of which, and Red Sox fans, buckle up. Buckle up for a year of just irritation. Okay, aggravation.
That's what I think.
But talking about the Yankees, talking about Boone, Mark. We talking about injuries again? They just started.
Listen, but the funny thing is, Chris,
started.
Yeah, spring training just started, and Judge brings up the injury. It says, well, that's something that's going to require maintenance for the rest of my career. What are you talking about? In 2024, they can't fix what was wrong with him? That's going to require basic maintenance? So what does that mean? He's going to have to take time off during the course of the year for a toe?
Why are you telling us this?
Yeah, so obviously, Chris, that toe isn't 100% if he's already throwing that out week one. That's a problem, Chris.
Yeah. Why are you telling us this? Why do you want to why? Because or is that basically saying, these are the reasons I'm not, there's 162, but for me,
probably 150, maybe 145.
We're really not even.
Yeah,
probably.
Not even.
He'll probably miss. No, he's going to miss a lot of games. Watch. How many games did he miss? I don't have those numbers.
He won't miss as many games he did last year, Chris. He missed like 5 weeks straight with that injury. But I think you're going to see him like every week. They'll give him a break every week. Like at the end, he'll probably play like 140, 138. Like he'll probably get a day off every week where they just rest the foot, the toe, whatever it is, right?
Well,
you're right, Chris. He's not going to be playing game after game after game.
Listen, you've been chomping at the bit for this Yankees versus Red Sox segment because you got a few things to say about the Yankees. So the floor is yours.
So Judge, we just brought up the maintenance issue, which is insanity to me that he's already bringing that up. And then Stanton, if you look at Stanton, he looks like he deflated himself. He's lean, he's thin, he has no, the bulk is he's still got muscle, but the bulk is gone. I don't know what he did. He claims he's in the best shape of his life. We're going to see if he can stay healthy.
Is that every year?
Yeah, he does. No, but if you physically look at him this year, Chris, I saw video of him yesterday. He actually looks different. Now,
you're falling right for it.
I'm falling for it.
You're taking the bait.
I'm taking it.
Gullible man.
Couple of things, though. Soto, Chris. Soto should win MVP. Chris, if he very easily could win MVP with that right field porch. I mean, I looked at him. They showed him in the batting cage the other day. My God, Chris, with that right field porch, he might hit 50 home runs in Yankee Stadium if he stays healthy. That is going to be an interesting pickup because he's going to give them that bat in the middle of the order besides Judge. And he's in the final year of his contract. So he's going to try to win an MVP because then he's going to tell the Yankees, give me $300 million or he's going to walk. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him as the year goes on. Pitching wise, Chris, is going to always be the key for the Yankees. They signed Stroman from the Mets, and he's always had the potential to be a 20-game winner, but he has these injuries during the season where he
nagging stuff keeps him out.
Because he's got the stuff to be a 20-game winner, but he never can do it. So can he stay healthy? A lot of questions, Chris, about can guys stay healthy? And if he stays healthy, well, now you got Cole. You got Roldan, who knows if he can be healthy after his last year. You got Nestor Cortez. You got Stroman. And I guess Clark Schmidt is battling for the 5th spot. And then
how about the bullpen?
But they're still in for Snell. The Cy Young Award winner of the National League last year. Amazing to me, is still unsigned. The Yankees are in the mix for him still. We'll see if he comes on board. The bullpen, Chris, is going to be a struggle because you got rid of some bullpen help to go get Soto. So the bullpen's a question mark. They've brought in some guys. Let's see how they turn out with the guys that they've brought in. And the last guy I want to bring up is Jason Dominguez, Chris. I know we're running against the clock, but Dominguez got hurt last year in August. If you remember, the young superstar, 20 years old, he had the potential to be Rookie of the Year this year, Chris. coming along faster than they thought. He tore with the he had the Tommy John injury. They think he'll be back in June. He is a key piece to this lineup. If he can get healthy quickly, he's young, he's fast, he's powerful. He'll give them another bat in that order. So I'm cautiously optimistic if they can get pitching that they might have enough this year. And Anthony Volpe's going to have a breakout year, the young shortstop. That's my prediction.
Well, you heard it here first, so we'll be tracking it all season long. Want to hear from you in Heated Hotline and in our mailbag. Let us know what you think about the Yankees and the Red Sox and their season upcoming. So, Yankees versus Red Sox was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, when we come back, buckle up. Catone's Comments is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Call or go online to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys who I know will help.
Time for Catone's Comments!
So, I've just got to bring this up. I have to. You know, every once in a while I go on a crazy tangent about something. Well, today's the day. Today's the day. So I go to the store. Yes, I went to a store, Joe. Yes, I did.
It just
I
keeps
go to
going
the
out.
store.
You just keep
That's it.
leaving your house.
I go to the store and I'm looking. I just had a craving for animal crackers. Why? I don't know. I wanted animal crackers. And I never eat them, but I just had a craving. I go to the store. I'm looking for animal crackers. I'm looking for the old-fashioned animal crackers. Remember, in the little box, it looked like a bus, right? There was a little box, and it had the little string on top, and it basically had pictures of the animals. And it was like from Ringling Brothers and Ringling Brothers and Barnabas Bailey Circus, and they were like behind. Box was different colors, and they were like behind the like cages and stuff. It was like you were going to. It was like they were at the zoo. Okay, well, I'm looking and looking. I can't find them. I said to the guy, "Where are the animal crackers?" He said, "Oh, they're over here." I said, "Where's the little box?" He said, "Oh, they don't make those no more." I said, "How come?" He said, "That was cruelty to animals." I said, "What?" He said, "They were behind a cage in the box." He said, they made the company stop making them." I said, "You're kidding me, right? They stopped making them for that?" He said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh." He said, "These are the same thing. Now they're in a bag, a little bag, red and blue bag." I said, "Okay, I'll take these then." I don't know. What do I know? I take them. Okay. I bring them home. They don't taste anything like the animal crackers that were in the box. The recipe changed. They're not even the same animal crackers. I said, "What the hell are these things? These aren't animal crackers." I said to my wife, "What are these?" She said, "That's what they sell." Imagine, because of they cruelty to animals, it's an animal cracker. You're eating an animal cracker. Are you kidding me? They even changed not only the box, they changed the recipe. They don't even taste the same. Talk about ruining a memory from childhood. I don't understand what they did. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Then, this is how crazy society's getting. So they ruined the animal cracker. Now, I'm reading this week about, the holiday season now that it's over and all this. And I guess there was a principal at a school out in Colorado. A teacher had brought in candy canes for Christmas time and passed out candy canes. And the principal said, "You can't have candy." She tried to get the teacher fired. She said, that's religious. You can't bring in candy canes. That's religious. And the teacher says, "Well, what are you talking about? They're candy canes." "No, they're shaped like a J for Jesus, and you can't bring them into school." Flip the thing upside down. It's a cane. Candy, cane. It's shaped like a cane. What is wrong with these people? A J for Jesus? It's a candy cane. It's shaped like a cane that you walk with. What is wrong with these people. I can't imagine what goes through the mind of certain people. And listen, no disrespect, you can have your opinions, but when you try to prevent children from having a candy cane in school because you said it's a J for Jesus, what is wrong with you? Are you kidding me? And then the last thing that drove me nuts this week, okay, besides the candy cane. So now I'm listening to the radio, and they said that there's this movement because people are offended. You know that old saying, bring home the bacon, right? People are offended by the usage of the word bacon because they said that it's cruelty to animals because it comes from a pig. Bring home the bacon. In other words, you're promoting the killing of pigs. Who in their right mind comes up with this nuttiness and craziness? And I'm crazy and I'm nuts. And I'm saying to myself, what is wrong with these people? Honestly, what's wrong with these people? I was appalled when I heard this. I said to myself, bacon, cruelty to animals because it's promoting the killing of pigs. What? Wait, who would say such a thing? Listen, I can't listen to anything anymore. I can't leave the house. I just gotta sit and put the TV on and watch Batman, Robin, Superman. That's all in sports. That's all I can watch. That's all I can watch, Chris. I can't do anything else.
Just sit him in a corner. That's it.
Listen, okay. Joe, a lot to unwrap there, huh?
Lots on nap. Although I will say this, what a letdown. I feel for you. But going out, making the decision to go out again for animal crackers is, by far, it's a good decision to get out there, at least to try.
They don't even taste good. They're talking about the most bland.
Not the ones he's talking about.
Joe, didn't they have a good taste, the ones in that box?
Yeah, the original ones. Yeah, they were like cookies, like shortbread cookies almost.
They don't make them anymore. I was so upset. I don't think I've had an animal cracker in 20 years, Chris. I was craving that animal cracker.
This is the guy. The guy that told you that at the store was telling that story to his wife over dinner, right? And had to get interrupted. And said I had a guy in there that was asking me for a box of animal crackers. So excuse me 1 second. I'll take the veal parmesan with and that's what he was ordering at the restaurant. Veal parm. But we're talking about cruelty to animals because they're fictitiously behind the cage on a box.
Can you imagine, Chris?
But we're gonna order veal. We're gonna have lamb chops.
Yeah, right. Come on. Are
Doesn't
you
make
kidding
any sense.
me?
It makes no sense. With the with the cruel, I won't even talk about the cruel. Let's get aside of that. The candy cane. I love this. Joe, first of all, politics aside, you're picking the most like of all the candies you want a candy cane? You got a craving for that minty, crappy taste of a candy cane?
Right?
What? Where's that coming from?
I thought you were going to
What happened to the Mike and Ike's?
Yeah.
No.
If you're talking about candy, can I quickly digress and tell a quick story about Mike and Ike's? Do you
Go
mind
ahead.
if I tell that story?
Go ahead.
He does like his candy. Okay. He does like his candy. And there's one particular that he likes, okay, is Mike and Ike's. So I get a call. I get the call many years ago now, 21 years ago. I get the call. Wife's going into labor. We're going to have the kid, So I get the call after it happens, And I thought his wife was going to be not able to speak yet. I'd be on the phone. He just grabs the phone from him and said, you know what he did? You know what he did? When I was in the hospital, he stopped. He stopped to get a box of Mike and Ike's first so that he can have some of that in the room because he said he had. So you stopped and got Mike and Ike's?
No.
Said, well,
that's not the story.
Isn't that the story where you needed to eat the Mike and Ike's because you're going to be there a long time? Was
It's,
was it the
listen,
birth of the kid, or was it something
yeah, it
else?
was, but they were prepping her and they said it's gonna be a while, and I said, okay, fine. I said, I'm gonna go downstairs and get something to drink while they were doing that. She said, okay. I went downstairs. I said, oh, you know what? I might as well get some Mike and Ike's for the room. You're right. I went and got some Mike and Ike's. Well, I come upstairs eating Mike and Ike's, and they're throwing greens at me. Come on, we got to get her in now. Something head was bleeding. They said we got an emergency. We got to do a C-section. I'm eating Mike and Ike's. I said, oh, all right. I put the Mike and Ike's away. Wow.
I'd have to see that receipt, Joe, because there's no way they're selling Mike and Ike's downstairs with the drink in the hospital.
Not
He went
anymore.
across the street to get that.
Not anymore. Somebody in the room was offended, and they said no more with the sales of Mike and Ike's during birth.
What you
I'm a
should do
diabetic. I can't eat the Mike and Ike's anymore.
with you did a pretty good job on Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, that was because we were both disgusted
Listen,
during that game.
so the candy cane, right?
Yeah.
What you should do then, wherever you heard, where did you hear this? Who was saying this to you?
I was listening to it on the radio. I'm listening to the radio, and they were talking about this principal out in Colorado who banned them from her school and reprimanded the teacher because they brought candy canes into the kid, not because people could be allergic to it, but because it was shaped like a J for Jesus. Are you kidding me?
Well, you know what we need to do, just to irritate, because that's what we like to do. We like to agitate, irritate, right? Let's
It
go
is
out to
pretty weird.
Colorado. Let's put a nativity scene right at the school, and we'll put a candy cane in baby Jesus' mouth, eating the candy cane, Mark.
So you have a lot of problems.
Except we'll turn it the proper way so it doesn't look like a J. You know,
Joe, what's wrong with him? He has a lot of problems. I'm a nice, calm person over here. He wants to go to Colorado and torture those poor people.
hey, listen, Joe, he's not. I mean, we kind of have lost our minds a little as a society, don't you think? Not to get into.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think I'm like, how did we as a human race get this far? Seriously, I mean, think about it. How did we even get this far?
Hey, listen, look, you know what? That's a sign that things must be pretty good, right? Because things must be pretty good. If we're worrying about animal crackers and the cages on the box for the Ringling Brothers and the circus, then we must not have much else to worry about, Mark.
No, the evidence is
Certainly.
wonderful.
They're certainly not worried about the damn coaching staff and the friggin', worrying about the coaching staff and the kumbaya crap that's going on in New England instead of worrying about free agencies in 2.5 weeks. My God,
That's it. Hey, and the combine
Maybe you
coming
should
up in a
send
week.
Mayo a couple of candy canes and a friggin' box of animal crackers and tell them, hey, let's go. Wake up.
Listen, don't pick on the animal crackers. Well, hey, listen, I'm not even going to get into the bacon. This bacon part of that story. We're not even going to get into the bacon. That's even worse, Chris.
What's wrong with bacon?
It's cruelty because it's promoting the killing of pigs. They said
The
So
phrase.
what? So
to
who's
make
saying
the bacon.
the same people that are saying that are having a ham sandwich and friggin' ham on Easter? But you know what?
There
There's
we
nothing
go.
better than a BLT. Don't you love a good BLT?
Look at this.
It
It
with
is
the
good
light,
at BLT.
light
It is.
mayo on it, crispy iceberg. But the bacon has got to be crispy.
It's got to be crispy. It does have to be crispy.
I can't remember the last time I had a BLT. Now you're getting me all hungry.
He'll be getting one of those tomorrow somewhere, Chris.
I'm looking for a BLT. I'll make my own. Mark, good stuff. Hey, Mark, keep on top of these things, will you please? Keep letting us know.
Imagine
about
animal
the
crackers. I'm so
injustices.
upset.
We can't tell him to not leave the house. If he doesn't leave the house, we don't have these fun stories.
Well, he's not listening. He continues to leave the house, even though he's advised not to. So, that'll come to a head at some point. So, Catone's Comments was presented by Corso and Catone. Saturdays, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. Sponsorships are available. Hey, let Mr. Bacon over here, Mr. Candy Cane, promote your product. Begin it on the show. So you can email us at corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, we come back. Want to hear from one of you in the Nation and Heated Hotline. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crackers?
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with more Corso and Catone. You know what I mean, right? When I tell the people know what I mean when I say no flipping, Joe.
Who knows?
No, I think they know.
Somebody,
Or is that my age too? With the with the
somebody
clicker?
knows what you mean. Somebody doesn't know what you mean, and somebody's offended about it. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, the clicker, the remote control. You're gonna flip
Clicker.
channels. Don't flip the channel. Don't flip. No flipping.
Everybody's
We also-
streaming now. They don't care about flipping.
Oh, it's in the mind. You think about the channel you want, and it just goes there. Mark, do a Catone's comments about the streaming services again.
You like that one. You liked it.
That was good. What we also like is everyone in the nation, and we want to welcome one of you in Heated Hotline. Hear from you, Joe.
Hi, guys. It's Jen from Cranston, and I'm calling in. I started watching the Dynasty show last night, and one thing I wanted to bring up to you was I don't remember feeling sad or that Bledsoe was treated unfairly back then when all of this was happening with Brady. But watching the show, it was a different perspective, and I was feeling it was very unfair for Bledsoe. So I wanted to get your opinion on that. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Jen, always a good call from Jen and Cranston.
Jen's good. Jen's one of our
thank
faithful callers and listeners.
Is good. Last time what was she talking about? Last time she called, she was dogging somebody. Remember?
Yeah, she was. She was.
Call somebody a moron. But she's watching Dynasty. You remember the show Dynasty? I don't know. Okay. So
Linda Evans, I loved it.
Right. So I'm glad she brought this up, actually, Joe.
No,
I'm
I
glad
know.
you picked this one because I was going to talk about this in our
good.
next segment, Pat's Nation. But let's talk about it now. Have you seen the show, gentlemen?
Yes,
Dynasty.
I watched the first 2 episodes the other night.
Said he wasn't going to. I picked this one because Mark said he wasn't going to watch this Dynasty.
I ended up watching it. I had no choice. I had to watch it. I
haven't
watched
started
it
yet. I gotta see.
for the show. I had to watch it.
I got
So she talks about, and this was interesting because I picked up on this too. We were there, obviously.
Yes.
Mark, they talk about that Rams game that's in November. Remember that game?
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah, I remember
So-
that. Well, we
so-
can't bring that up on the show.
She talks about the show Dynasty, and in the pro, if you haven't seen it yet, take a look. It's pretty good. I mean, obviously there are things done with these shows to, for the entertainment value, right?
Yeah,
To really pump things up and so on. So the Brady versus Bledsoe thing, everybody knows the story. Do I have to set this up, Joe? I mean, Bledsoe got hurt in week 2. Brady took over for the rest of the season. Bledsoe was better. He healed up, but Belichick made the decision to go with Brady for the rest of the season. And according to the show, that ruffled a lot of feathers. Everybody was, in the national versus local. Fans were upset by it and so on and so forth. But is that really how it happened? Is that really how it went down, Mark?
My recollection, Chris, is people were it was like a breath of fresh air because I think Bledsoe got a little bit stale and it was always typical. It was typical. We would say you and I in the fourth quarter when they lost would be like, well, typical Drew, right?
Yeah.
So
He's going to pat the ball. He's going to pat the ball, get sacked. He was sacked 100 times. Go ahead.
So I think when Brady came in, Chris, I think it was refreshing. People were glad. He was energized. He was young. He was doing things differently. Even then, Chris, he had a little bit of a bravado about him, right? Even though he wasn't Brady yet. I don't remember. Was there, can you lose your job because of an injury? I do remember that debate, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, Chris.
Jackie McMullen was talking about that. And
absolutely. But the way it's portrayed in this show, and then they put Bledsoe's wife on, and she says that, it was a lack of loyalty and he was done wrong. And they're taking shots at Belichick, obviously. Who else they taking shots at? And even Kraft says, I had a talk with Bill. Really? You had a talk with Bill?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's where I take exception to all this. Is when, because you and I were there. We were front and center. We didn't have a show then, but we were, we're the same. We pretty much have been doing the show for 30 years, just without cameras on us. And the bottom line was, yeah, it was a refreshing change. Everybody, Bledsoe was Bledsoe. He was declining. He signed that $100 million contract, which was the biggest ever, right?
Yeah.
And, he could see the decline. But yeah, it was a breath of fresh air. Even though they lost that St. Louis game, and Brady in November, and Brady was kind of a large part of that loss too. I mean, he turned the ball over a couple of times, and then they lose that game. But the way they played, the way they were galvanized, wasn't the same as when Bledsoe. And I think there was irritation with the fact that people weren't upset enough. I think Bledsoe was irritated at the fact that people weren't pissed off enough that he wasn't the starting quarterback anymore. When he said, I reserve the right to compete for my job. To get, what I mean? He was pissed, and I don't blame him. He should be pissed. He was a competitor. And I will say this. He's one of my favorite Patriots of all time, is Drew Bledsoe, because he did handle it with a lot of class moving forward at that point. He came in the AFC Championship game, and when Brady got hurt, and he threw that touchdown to Patton in the back corner of the end zone, without Bledsoe coming in that game, we're not in the Super Bowl, Mark.
No, absolutely not.
He earned that ring, in my opinion. He contributed. Just that alone, you earned that ring.
No, he absolutely contributed, and he earned the ring, and he should be proud of the ring, because you're right. Without him coming into that game and having him as the backup, you probably don't get by that game, right?
So we have much respect.
Probably beats you.
Yeah, we have much respect for Drew Bledsoe. What I don't
let me tell you something. He makes a hell of a wine too. That double back vineyard.
He looks good for his age, too.
He looks great. Of course, I'm watching it, and my wife says, "Wow,
we look like crap."
Great.
This guy looks.
You be quiet over there.
Well, you're busy eating Mike and Ike's and candy canes. What the hell? But no. But what bothered me was the whole with this Kraft thing. With it, the narrative of and I have no doubt he had this conversation, because he probably was sitting there saying, "What the hell am I going to tell this guy?" So he basically tells him, "Hey, we're going to give Belichick enough rope to hang himself, right?" Yeah. I mean, that's what he's basically saying. So if he screws up, it's going to be on him, Drew, and I'll hold him accountable for it. Now, maybe that conversation happened, and maybe it didn't. I don't know. I wasn't there. But the idea that was painted in this situation, and I heard it all week, people talking about it was Belichick's ass that was on the line. No, it wasn't. Like, as if Brady didn't do what he did and fell flat on his face, and that's how the season ended, like Belichick's job was on the line. Scott Pioli comes on that show and says, the heat was on. The heat was on. Are you kidding me? You really want me to believe?
Compare it to the situation in Cleveland when they forced Kozar out. Remember?
Yeah, absurd. There was no pressure on Belichick. There was not pressure, but there was no threat of him losing. They just gave up a first-round draft pick for Belichick the year before.
They weren't getting rid of him.
2000, when they had to go get him from that drama with the Jets.
Listen, if Brady's
Kraft's going to fire him after 2 years and say, well, you made the bad decision. You sat $100 million guy. We're firing you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sell that somewhere else.
Had fallen flat on his face, Chris. The three of them would have had to have a sit down, Kraft, Belichick, and Bledsoe, and work things out. And Bledsoe would have been the start of the following year.
He would come back. He would have just brought him back.
That didn't happen. And the rest is obviously history. But I'm going to say this, and I have to watch obviously the next couple of episodes to see how this narrative plays out.
We're recording on Thursday, so they're not. It's out tonight and tomorrow, I think.
Right, but I want to see how the rest of the narrative plays out. However, Chris, is anyone going to give Belichick the credit for seeing something in Brady to say, I'm sticking with this kid? Listen, he didn't know he was going to become what he became, but he had enough in him to say, I'm going to stick with this kid. This kid's my quarterback. He saw something in him. Listen, if you're not a coach as great as Belichick was, who else was going to see that to bench $100 million guy? Think about that. You benched $100 million guy because you saw something in this kid that you thought was right for the team. Listen, that's greatness in Belichick to have the beans to do it.
The pushback, the pushback you get on that is they took him 199. They didn't really see anything. Look,
no, I'm not saying they saw it when they draft. No, not when they draft
during the season.
But at that point, Chris, through all the practices and everything he had seen, he knew that this kid could. He saw
Yeah.
something in this kid. He had to, Chris.
You're talking about when Bledsoe healed up and was cleared to play.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
moment. Yeah, you
Yes,
gotta give
yes,
you gotta give Belichick
yes.
credit, but nobody wants to do that.
I don't
That
know.
doesn't fit anyone's narrative.
I got to interject with this because Belichick's track record as benching a player here and there and leaving him on the bench had always to do with they mouthed it off, did something, and he left them there on the bench. Whomever you can name, any player that you want to name, and he's done that all the way up until the end of his career, or last season. Anyway, so I mean, there had to be something in Bledsoe's corner that he must have irked him in a way that he's like, I don't care, I'm playing Brady.
I don't know.
But
I mean,
that's a good point, though, Joe, to bring up.
maybe.
But I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, possibly. I at that stage though of how Belichick was here, Belichick wasn't Belichick yet.
No,
You know
neither
what I
one
mean?
of them
Like,
were.
he wasn't,
Belichick wasn't Belichick, and Brady wasn't Brady.
I honestly think they saw what they saw in Brady. I think they liked Brady all along. I think they liked him coming out of college. They just weren't going to spend a pick on him. They weren't going to justify a higher pick for him, but I think they liked him. No, I just think that he saw the writing on the wall with Bledsoe, as a lot of people did. The national media didn't. The national media all was shocked and basically saying Chris Collinsworth and these guys on Inside the NFL, if you remember, they were talking, and then they put it on the show, and they say this is nuts. This is nuts to bench, but they keep talking about the number, to bench $100 million guy, $100 million guy. I don't think he should have been $100 million guy, to be honest.
No.
And you and I said that when
agree.
they signed him to that deal.
Yeah.
We said, "Are you kidding me right now? This guy's never going. It's never going. This isn't going to fly with Brady, with Belichick." You and I both said that then. The way he pats the ball, he sits there. He's like a sitting duck, getting sacked, and a lot of it wasn't his fault. Bad offensive line, but Brady made it work. So no, I don't. I agree with Jen. Well, she seemed confused by it, but you're remembering it right, Jen. I don't think that there was not as much backlash, and so now with another minute we got left, what are you moving forward with this show now? You saw the first 2 episodes, it ends after the snow game, right?
Yeah, it ends in Pittsburgh with him going down with the ankle. That's how it ends.
And are you now intrigued? Do you want to see more, or do you think this is just going to be a dog? Because last week you said, I don't know if I want to watch it, because if it's going to be a show that just dogs Belichick, I'm not looking at this. How did you see this?
It was dogging Belichick early on. It was dogging him for the Bledsoe decision, I think. And but
it's weird too, because it's as if they didn't win the Super Bowl. It's as if they didn't win the Super Bowl. What?
It is, but I'm going to say this, Chris. It's dogging Belichick. Listen, this to me is about Kraft. Almost his way of massaging what happened, because yes, it's dogging Belichick, even the first couple episodes, but it's also massaging the greatness of Brady, because in those episodes it brings up the competitiveness of Brady, and they bring in Brady's roommate. And by the way, the rookies at that point stayed in that hotel, the End Zone.
Oh my God,
that's where they stayed. But anyways,
we've stayed there,
right? But anyways, but it talks about how you couldn't even play a video game with him, because if he started losing, he was crazy. So it's kind of almost like that Brady versus Belichick thing again. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like Kraft is, I don't know.
Make no mistake about this, Jen, Mark, whoever's listening. Listen, this show was made. This show was being made, or was made, for the end. The beginning they had to talk about. It had nothing to do with the beginning. This whole show was made for the 2018 till Brady left. This is so that Kraft cannot have as much egg on his face that he should have. That's why this show was made. And where you're really going to want to throw up is when you watch those episodes, I'll bet. When you watch episodes like 9 and 10, where it talks about the exit, then I think we're going to get irritated. That's where I think we're going to get irritated. And that's why I think,
because I think, Chris, that is where Kraft is going to have to try to spin this. And he's not going to say that it was his final decision. He's going to say Tommy wanted it and I gave it to Tommy. Like, there's got to be some kind of spin because Kraft is not going to look bad in this, obviously.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Jen, thank you for the call. As always, we appreciate it. Heated Hotline was presented by CORSO Law Group, CORSOLawGroup.com. Hey, when we come back on a Welcome in the Nation, Pat's Nation is next.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. All right, Mark, going to talk a little Patriots. Had some press conferences this week.
Oh, yeah. I know you love them.
Let's bring in the nation. Pat's Nation. Joe. Hey, another good wash, Again, tune in. Get on YouTube and watch that too. I know it's just audio for you, but it's a cool little video that Joe put together.
Cool. It is
Yeah,
cool.
so we're giving Joe a lot of props tonight, aren't we?
Wow. Somebody needs something.
I'm telling you. So this week, and I think it was on Wednesday, they had the coaching pressers where you heard from Mayo, you heard from Covington, the DC, and you heard from Alex Van Pelt. And so, I heard them. I listened to them, Mark. What was your reaction? Start with Mayo. And we don't have to talk about this long, but,
So Mayo, Chris, first of all, I found it interesting that there was no podium. He comes in, he sits at the table, he sits behind the table, right? And it's this whole, like a kumbaya, like, hey, what's going on? How you guys doing? Like, is opposite of Belichick as you could possibly get. And that obviously is intentional, right? And because it's almost like he's trying to have this bromance with the media, which isn't going to last long. But that was just the way it was, right? And I don't know. He was relaxed and laid back and talking about what their philosophy is. But if you really listen to all of them, not just Mayo, Chris, they really don't they don't tell you much. It's like they're like canned answers. Like this is like the typical thing you would say. Oh, we're gonna keep doing this, or we're gonna like I think Van Pelt said, we're gonna do some of the concepts from Cleveland, but do some other of our stuff. Like he's not giving you any specifics. What are you running? Which obviously you won't give that out, but it's real generic what they're telling you.
Yeah. Listen, and some of the media took some heat this week for some of the questions that were being asked. What we all have to understand too is, and to give just a break to the media just a little bit, is you're talking about a beaten dog. Okay. These guys are afraid to ask anything in these press conferences. They tiptoe around every single question because that's the way it was for 25 years. You couldn't, the narrative was clear. It was what it was. And so it's going to take some time for you guys to get a little more comfortable in pressing somebody. Pushing. Nobody pushed Bill. Okay. They're like, okay, just and they would have to ask the question in a roundabout way. And, it's going to take some time to get away from that. And they were softballs were being thrown to Mayo. How many more introductions do we need? I don't need another introduction. I don't care. Well, instead of introducing me to the coaches, I could care less about them, their families, their life, their this, their that. I don't care. I want to know what you're going to put on the field. I want to know what the friggin' product is going to be on the field. Hey, Mark, this is the pros. This isn't college. This isn't your PC team that we can't dog. This is the professional football team, okay, who right now is in the toilet. So instead of giving me a press conference that tells me nothing. Okay. I'll tell you what I gleaned from this. Okay. Real quick.
Yeah.
First
Go
of
ahead.
all, he's talking the people I talked to about Alex Van Pelt. Who the hell is that? Who did you talk to about Alex Van? You don't know anybody, Mayo. Who are you talking to? He came to you because Wolf. Who else was there? You know?
Elliot Wolf made the phone calls for these people.
And he talks about the coaching staff is fluid because, talking about Troy Brown still on the team. Right now,
Yeah, but
this was
that's your question, Chris. Is Troy Brown the wide receivers coach?
No, it's somebody else. The wide receivers coach is Tyler Hughes. That's who.
So what is Troy Brown doing? They're going to give him a different role?
Nobody knows. No one knows yet. He's on the staff.
They must be waiting for Troy Brown to get a job somewhere else so he can just leave on his own. That must be what they're waiting for.
I guess. But nobody knows. And so what pissed me off real quick was this. Right now, we're focused on the coaches. What? What's the date today? The 22nd? When the hell does the tampering period start? When is the combine? When is the senior bowl? When
the combine, Chris, the combine starts next week. And the franchise tender started this week. You could start the franchise guys. So you better start thinking about players.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want to hear. You're thinking about players. I want to hear the type of players you want. That's what I'm looking for. Sit in your office and do your job. Get away from the podium. I don't need to hear Alex Van Pelt told me about leadership. The hell with leadership, Mark.
I agree. I totally agree.
Very concerned. I'm very, very, very concerned. So, Mark, looking at last week we talked about some free agent wide receivers. We're talking about a free agency plan. I wanted to go through a few names with you. Since they're not talking about players, we will, on the offense. So we talked last week about the wideouts, Pittman, Ridley. You talked about Gabe Davis. For tight ends, you got Hunter Henry now that's a free agent, and guys like Noah Fant. To me, I would take a shot at Fant, or would you re-sign Henry?
I would take a shot at Fant, Chris, just because I think he gives you a little more versatility in that. What?
I think Henry's better as a pass catcher, but
he may be. But I think Fant, Chris, is more athletic, and I think can be okay as a pass catcher if you use him appropriately. I mean, and maybe you sign both, Chris. Maybe you try, depending on how much it's going to cost you, and you draft a young guy to learn. You want
to run 12 personnel some more?
No, I don't, but I love the kid Sanat from Kansas State. I really like him, the tight end, and I think he'll be there. Maybe you could get him in the 4th round. Maybe.
Well, that's different. That's a different thing. You have a veteran.
That's what I mean.
A rookie.
I that's what I always go one tight end every draft, Chris. That ends up being good. And this kid from Kansas State, I really like him, and he's not going to go that early. No, I don't want 12 personnel at all. But listen, I don't want anything from last year, Chris. I would take Fant over Henry just because Henry was on the damn team last year. Get rid of him. I don't want him. You know what? Listen, I just want change, new blood, fresh faces. That's all I want. And
so, looking at the offensive line now, because you and I mean, obviously this ties into the draft. I mean, you and I are on records and now everybody's catching up with this as to trade that 3rd round pick for Justin Fields. But most people saying trade out of the number 3 pick to get a tackle and get multiple picks. You and I are saying get Marvin Harrison, go get one of these Ridley, a Pittman, one of these guys, and go and sign Fields, and off we go.
But it doesn't sound like Chris Fields is going to be an option. This week they were talking about teams that are really going to go after him, and we're not mentioned as one of them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Because I think they got their eyes set on the quarterback, and that's what they're going to do no matter who's there, and that's a mistake. But talking about free agency, so for me, if our scenario goes forward, looking at the offensive line, Mark, to me, you got the guys you should be looking to bring in. Tyron Smith, he's $12 million. That's going to cost you something, and he's got some injury issues. So put him aside for a second. Dwayne Brown at $10 million. Jonah Smith, who's a right tackle, but can play left, at $4 million. And then, of course, you sign a Winu. So to me, you got to go out and get Brown, Jonah Williams.
Chris, there's a tackle from Cleveland that they think Van Pelt is going to go after, and I forget his name. They're mentioning it this week. They thought he'd be a fit here because unless you really overpay, it doesn't seem like Winu wants to come back here, Chris.
Yeah. Well,
you might really have to overpay.
Well, you know what, Mark? You're going to have to overpay for these guys. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to have to. That's what everybody else does. Everyone else overpays.
No, you're right. You're right.
Who doesn't
But I
overpay?
think that's what's going to take for Oweno.
Kansas City doesn't overpay.
No, you're right.
But
You're
even San Francisco does.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, those are the guys I'm looking at. I would like to see them do what they have to do to sign Oweno, and I want to see Jonah Williams, and I'd like to see Dwayne Brown or Tyron Smith. He's a little bit more of a risk and more money. For running back, just really quick, we keep talking about we want a guy like a Pacheco, that kind of guy. Okay, Singletary's out there. Was playing for Houston. He would cost about $2 million, $2.5 million. Hilaire is out there. Again,
he's
another
always
guy
injured.
about $2
He's
$2.5
always
million.
hurt, though.
He's that kind of back, though.
No, he is. He is that kind of back.
So out of those two guys, what do you think?
I would take Singletary.
Okay. So we have an offensive plan. Mark and I have an offensive plan.
Of course we do. Of course we do.
What do we got? We got Justin Fields.
We always got a plan.
We got Justin Fields. We got Marvin Harrison. We got Ridley. Maybe trade for Judy or Pittman. You know, one of those guys.
This week, they said they think it won't cost a lot because Cleveland wants to cut a little payroll and get younger at the position. They think Alex Van Pelt could go get Amari Cooper. Would you go get him?
Yeah. And by the way, I would get him. Do you like him more than Pittman or Ridley?
I don't. But
I do. I mean,
you like Cooper more than
I
Ridley
like
and
Cooper.
Pittman? All right.
Because Ridley,
because supposedly Van Pelt has a real good relationship with him, and they think he could get him out of there. And I don't think it would cost a ton because they think they want to cut salary a little bit, Cleveland, and get younger.
You buy your offensive line. You draft a few of them later in the rounds. But yeah, Harrison. Look, the only way I trade that pick is if Minnesota wants it and it's Mock's deal, where Minnesota wants the pick and they give us Jefferson.
Yeah,
fine, okay. But I still see Fields is in that equation. So, Mark, looking at the defensive side of the ball, the couple minutes we have left. The two positions I'm really looking at are inside linebacker and safety. Okay.
Yep.
And I think it was clear and evident in the Super Bowl that I am 1,000,000% right in what you need at middle linebacker.
Yes.
You know, a la Fred Warner and Greenlaw. Okay. So
I agree with that.
You're going to have White on the market for $7 million.
Yep.
Devontae David for $4 million. Bush and Queen. Both of those guys will cost about $3 million apiece. So when I look at these guys, I like White, but he's costly. I mean, it's not our money.
Yeah.
But I like White. I like Queen. I could put Queen on this team. What do you think?
I would put Queen on this team. Queen is younger than White. He's fast. I don't know if supposedly Baltimore's not going to resign him. I definitely would take Queen on this team 100%, Chris. 100%. That is what you need on this defense. To take it to the next level, you need one of those guys. Absolutely.
Any of those guys are upgrade
Was
from
Queen
Divine.
on that team? I don't know if Queen was on that team when Judon was there. Maybe Judon can recruit him.
Well, that's another guy they're going to have to give some more money to. So that's a story for another day. And then at safety, talking Budda Baker, Edmonds, Winfield. I like Budda Baker, but it's a $14 million.
And Winfield's gonna cost you a ton of money. Too.
Winfield was listed at 1.8 as his base.
Oh no, but he's gonna want a big pay increase, Chris.
We'll see. But you need a center fielder. These are free safeties. Yeah. You know that I'm talking.
No, you need a center fielder. We don't have one. We don't.
So to me, those are the tweaks you make on defense. Otherwise, you resign your guys. You know, you franchise tag maybe Duggar. Owenu should be the guy that should get the tag.
Yeah.
Well, get the franchise tag. You put it on Owenu, Mark, right?
I would. Listen,
okay.
But Chris, that window's already opened. To your point, they're not talking about players. The window's open on Owenu already for a franchise tag. So you got to make the decision.
Yeah, it's either Duggar, Owenu, or Henry. So stay tuned. We'll figure it out. You know, we're tracking this every step of the way. Free agency is going to be fluid. Let's hope the coaches get on the stick and get going. So Corso and Catone was presented by Corso Law Group. Get on, watch. All our shows are up for you to listen to, watch, subscribe. Give us that thumbs up and come back next week, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to bring back Celtics, Bruins, talk a little more baseball, Catone's comments, more on Pat's free agency. Hey, anything you bring to the table, we will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.